Hello, Internet friend. Today on Value Side, DOGE, looking under the hood of government spending. I'm David Ravel. Well, my friend Sam always says, information wants to be free. By this, he means both without cost and also readily available, free access to information. Now, the newly introduced DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, has taken the most significant step in providing the average citizen with a minute-by-minute update on the financial conditions of America. It's impossible to overstate the long-term effects this will have on our government's budgets and spending. Over the past half-century, I've seen just this sort of information revolution in the country's financial markets. When I began as a stockbroker in 1972, brokers had a monopoly over the distribution of information. If someone wanted to know the current price of their stock, they had to call the broker. There was no other readily available method, unless one purchased their own very expensive stock quote terminal. Later, information would be distributed across the Internet via computers and smartphones. By allowing investors a free flow of news and data, investors were assured of the legitimacy of the financial markets. The invested capital of the nation exploded. Consequently, the value of U.S. stocks went from roughly $1 trillion in 1972 to today's $62 trillion. The public was more than willing to invest now that they had the full picture, the complete and up-to-the-moment news, information, and prospects for the shares they wanted to purchase. Now, when Americans are presented with the whole story, they're more than willing to stand by any company or government that is forthright and honest and has the stakeholders' best interests at heart. Today, many citizens have lost confidence, however, in the government. Taxpayers have watched as trillions are spent on foreign wars, wasteful social spending, and pseudo-scientific schemes, which, if they ever pay off, will be long after our lifetimes. The most recent poll conducted by Pew Research indicates that just 24% trust the federal government to do what's right most of the time or just about always. Let's put that another way. That means 3/4 of Americans do not feel that the government will do what's right most of the time. That's an awful indictment of our nation's leaders and the systems and institutions that make up the government. Aside from outright malfeasance and corruption, much of the nation's lack of trust stems from financial mismanagement or pilfering. Today's the nation's debt stands at an incredible $36 trillion. And if you go to usdebtclock.org, you can watch the amount increase at a dizzying rate. So much so that our debt may have already increased by the time you read this. Now, to rein in these out-of-control expenditures, DOGE, that Department of Government Efficiency, was created shortly after President Donald Trump's inauguration. Headed by the multi-billionaire Elon Musk, the department is tasked with reducing spending and waste. Unfortunately, today's headlines are full of protesting government employees and representatives who want to maintain the status quo. They need to change. From a purely dispassionate perspective, the country cannot go on adding debt willy-nilly. Further, many in Congress want to retain their control by obscuring how our money is spent. For years, it's been apparent that congressional and bureaucratic control hide the financial realities of overspending, ignoring budgets, and in light of recent DOGE revelations, even outright corruption. We are entering a time when confidential budgets and hidden spending will no longer be permitted. DOGE has swung the doors wide open. The secret recesses of government expenditures are coming under the watchful eyes of you and me, the American people. And once released, there will be no way to put this genie back in its bottle. Fading fast are the top secret, black budgets. We will now see what portion of our taxes were spent on some obscure vision for the environment or to induce social change or to enrich some faraway country. The budgets of all government agencies, including the three-letter agencies, will eventually be available for all to see. One of the most innovative aspects of the DOGE website is the DOGE Tracker, an up-to-the-minute report on new savings and unbudgeted spending. As I write this article, over $2 billion has already been recaptured by the new department. And remember, DOGE is only a couple of weeks old. As you would expect, most of these savings have come from USAID, where over $400 million has been cut. Additionally, $100 million in savings has come from the Department of Agriculture and $50 million from the Department of Health and Human Services. It's an admirable start from any perspective. These numbers represent savings in the fiscal year ended September 30 and a portion of it next year, up until July 4, 2026. Finally, one last data point. DOGE is the first place to show both the amount budgeted versus the amount actually spent for the current fiscal year. This is a critical first step in appreciating how profligate federal spending has been. For the past many years, government agencies and departments have blown through their budgets in an effort to spend, spend, spend. Now, we the people can see up-to-the-date evidence of government's overspending, expenditures that went beyond their congressional allocation. It will create a revolution in accounting and oversight. Sam, you see, was right. Indeed, information should be free. Even more, the information DOGE is uncovering could end our accursed debt and set us, the people of the United States, free from the hidden and oppressive federal government's current financial system. And that's today's Value Side. For all of our information and references, visit valueside.com. I'm David Ravel. ValueSide is independently written and researched. The views expressed are strictly my own.